Girls, we are in continuation of a chapter number 9 and we will just do a recap of the inhalation and the exhalation that we have studied in the earlier session. So we know that during the inhalation the gas or the air it enters through the nasal cavity. Nasal cavity it helps in the filtering air and prevents the entry of the harmful substances. The small hair which are present inside our nose they help preventing the harmful substances to reach to our body. Then from the nasal cavity the air goes through the trachea. Okay, it is also called the windpipe and helps in the movement of the air. You have to remember this name. Trachea is also called the windpipe. Then from the trachea it goes into the bronchi. It is a division of the trachea and enters each of the lungs, right? When it divides, the trachea divides, then it is called the bronchi. Then each bronchi it goes into the each lung. Now the lungs. These are present in the chest cavity. Inside the lungs, the bronchi branches into bronchioles which have alveoli at the end. I explained you in the last session also that this bronchi, it goes into the lung and in lung it divides into various small branches which are called bronchioles, and at the end of the bronchioles there are air sacs which are called alveoli where actually the exchange of the gases takes place. Then alveoli, these are thin tiny air sacs that help in the exchange of gases. Okay, now apart from that there are ribs also in the chest cavity. These help in the protection of the chest cavity and the process of inhalation and exhalation. They are just protecting the chest and they are helping in the inhalation and exhalation. Then there are intercostal muscles also. These muscles help in the process of inhalation and exhalation. There are various muscles also. They are present in the chest cavity. And then we have the diaphragm muscles. These muscles make the floor of the chest cavity and help in the process of inhalation and exhalation. I taught you this diaphragm in the earlier session also, how it moves down and the area increases, so the pressure decreases. So the pressure from outside, it helps the air to rush inside. Okay, and then when it moves up, what happens? The area becomes small, the pressure becomes more, and it pushes the air outside. So this is how the diaphragm moves and it helps in the inhalation and exhalation. Now this activity number 1 and activity number 2 I will explain you in the next session. Okay, now let's come to the exchange of gases. Now that is the internal respiration. Till now we have done the external respiration. Respiration is divided into 3 parts, you know that. First is the external, that inhalation and exhalation, that I have made you clear. Now we come to the exchange of gases, that is internal respiration. Now what happens in the internal respiration? You know the alveoli, these are the small air sacs which are present at the end of the bronchioles. Now these alveoli, they are surrounded by the capillaries. Okay, capillaries are the very thin tubes. These alveoli are also known as air sacs and they are also known as structural units of lungs. That you have to remember. I may ask you a one word, what are the structural unit of lungs? You must know they are the alveoli. Or what are the air sacs? They are alveoli. Now what happens during the inhalation, when the air comes in, the oxygen which is present in that air, the pure air, it diffuses in blood in capillaries from the alveoli. It goes till alveoli, till here you know very well how it goes into till the alveoli. Then in alveoli what happens? These alveoli, they are surrounded by the capillaries, by the thin tubes. There are small sacs, these are the air sacs, and they are surrounded by thin tubes which are called the capillaries. Bronchioles are different. Bronchioles are the branches of bronchi. They are not, these are the thin tubes which are called the capillaries. Okay, so what happens? The oxygen which has reached here till the air sac, it diffuses in the blood in the capillaries. In the capillaries the blood is there. Okay, so it diffuses in that blood, right? Now during exhalation what happens? Carbon dioxide which is present in the blood, and from there in the from the capillaries it reaches to the various parts of the body. Okay, so in exhalation what happens? The carbon dioxide which is present in the blood, now it comes through the capillaries, okay, and it goes to the air sacs. From the air sacs it goes back from the bronchioles, from the trachea, from the nasal cavity, it goes out. Is that clear? So after the air sacs, which is the important part, that is the capillaries. So these capillaries which are surrounding these air sacs or alveoli From here the oxygen diffuses in the blood which is present in the capillaries. Okay, is that clear? So this is the internal respiration. Now we come to cellular respiration. What the third part of the respiration was the cellular respiration. What happens in the cellular respiration? Cellular respiration, what happens? The oxygen which is from the alveoli goes into the capillaries. You know that very well. And from capillaries it goes into the blood because capillaries are having the blood only. In the blood there is a compound called in the blood there is a part called RBCs, that is the red blood cells. Blood also has different components. It has red blood cells, it has white blood cells, it has platelets. Okay, so the oxygen will go in the RBC section. There are three different sections. It will go in the RBC section. In RBC, that is a red blood cell, RBC is red blood cell. In red blood cell there is a compound called hemoglobin, and that oxygen it combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. Okay, now what happens? From this oxyhemoglobin the oxygen is released. Oxygen cannot come from the blood directly. Remember that. Oxygen first it gets combined with hemoglobin which is present in RBC. Oxygen will go in RBC section only. In RBC there is hemoglobin. It will combine with this hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. From here the oxygen will be released to break the food. Okay, and after breaking the food what is released? Energy. And that energy is used for various purposes, for walking, for doing work, for various other things. Is that clear? That is called the cellular respiration. So first was inhalation and exhalation where the air was reaching till alveoli. After that there was internal respiration. From alveoli what is happening? The oxygen is getting diffused in the blood in the capillaries. And what is cellular respiration? The oxygen which was diffusing in the blood, it goes into the RBC section of the blood where it combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin, and from here the oxygen is released to break the food and we get energy. I hope this is clear to you. And there is one equation here given to you. The glucose and oxygen, when they combine, oxygen is breaking this glucose or the food, whatever you want to call, to give water, to give carbon dioxide and to give energy. Carbon dioxide is exhaled out, energy is used for various purposes, and water is consumed in the body only, and the excess water is passed out from the body. Okay. Now after that girls, we come to aerobic and anaerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? The respiration which takes place when the food is broken in the presence of O2, of oxygen, then it is called the aerobic respiration. And during the aerobic respiration what is released? The carbon dioxide, the water and the energy. Okay, and it is the most common type of respiration exhibited by most organisms. Most of the organisms, the animals, the human beings, they do the aerobic respiration, that is the food is broken in the presence of oxygen. But there is anaerobic respiration also when the food is broken in the absence of oxygen, and during that what is released? The alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy is released, and the yeast and certain bacteria, they do the anaerobic respiration. Where the oxygen is not enough, they perform the anaerobic respiration. Okay, so that is a basic difference between them. One more thing, this is in the presence of oxygen, this is in the absence of oxygen. This is done by most of the organisms, this is done by certain bacteria or some yeast. And during the aerobic respiration, the energy released is much more than the anaerobic respiration. Okay, here the more energy released, here the less energy is released. Okay, now after that girls, there is this activity number 2, which again we will do in the next session. We will do this activity. So now they are saying that in our body what happens, we perform the aerobic respiration. The muscle cells in a body normally carry out aerobic respiration. But when we run fast or exercise vigorously, the muscle cells work faster and they require more energy. To meet this energy demand, the muscle cells switch over to anaerobic respiration. What is happening? When we are doing exercise, the oxygen which is being required by us is not being provided to that extent. Right? That's why we start breathing very fast. because we need more oxygen, but more oxygen is we are not getting it. So we switch on to the anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration, it lasts for a shorter time only. But in this case, instead of alcohol in the human bodies, what happens? The alcohol is not released. The lactic acid is produced. Okay? The lactic acid is produced in human beings. That is the difference between the yeast and the bacteria and the human beings. Now after that we come to the respiration in plants. What is the respiration in plants? Respiration means taking in the oxygen and giving out the carbon dioxide and then using that oxygen to break the food. Okay, so it takes place in the plants also. They also take in the oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. Don't get confused between photosynthesis and respiration. During photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. But during respiration, like human beings, they take in oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. Okay, and this is done through the tiny pores they are called stomata. They are present under the on the lower part of the leaf. Okay, and these stomatas or the cells, they are regulated. Their openings are regulated. I mean, they are opened or closed with the help of guard cells. Guard cells, they are present on the either side of the stomata and they help in the opening or closing of the stomata. Okay, and after that there is one this activity 3 is cancelled. We are not doing this activity number 3. So let's come to the difference between the respiration and photosynthesis. This is an important thing. So first you will the definition. It is a process by which plants prepare their own food and liberate oxygen in the presence of sunlight, chlorophyll and water. You know that. They make their food during photosynthesis and they give out oxygen. What is respiration? Respiration is a process of breaking off the glucose by using the oxygen and into carbon dioxide and water and energy. That means respiration is what? This is simply taking in the oxygen and using that oxygen to break the food, and what is released? Carbon dioxide, water and energy. Okay, so this is the equation of that. Now it takes place during the daytime only, photosynthesis, because it takes place during the sunlight. But respiration, it is a continuous process. It takes place throughout. That means during the day also, during the night also. Then what are the structures involved here? They are the leaves, stems and the roots here. And here they are the stomata, roots, lenticles, that is the opening of the stem barks, general body surfaces between the cells. Okay, so these are the structures which are involved in the respiration. So with this we come to an end of the chapter. The 2 activities are left. We will do it in the next session.